To be honest, 2 years really feels like an eternity to me, Coverkiller Nation. It's the last time that I did an album review on this particular group. In fact, it's been more than 2.5 years since that's happened. It was, I believe, March of 2011. Deicide, and that album was To Hell With God. Today we're going to talk about their new one entitled In the Minds of Evil. I really like doing the last album review principally because it was a terrific album, first of all, and also it was one that definitely seemed to have a great reception as far as with you guys were concerned. So it definitely either sparked some sort of nerve, either that, or it was something that you guys really favored. So I definitely was very, very pleased to see that they had another album coming out. I definitely wanted to hear the evil that they were going to really spawn with this release, considering 2011's To Hell With God spawned quite a bit. But then again, this is Deicide. I mean, there's variations to the level of evil that they spawn, all things considered. The history of this band, the controversy and everything that has followed them, is enough to really give the church a reason to really fear them, just like we in the modern world want to, blow up the Westboro Baptist Church building. And Glenn, if you're out there watching this video, why don't you just do it, because that'd be great. It'd be awesome. Publicity stunts aside, let's talk about the actual album. Let's talk about this 11-track affair. And there's no track on this album that's going to exceed the 4-minute mark here, so there's going to be a lot of different things that you can take from that. For one, you know that there's not really that much of an expansion of composition, so you know that this is going to be one that's going to be very direct, very in-your-face, very wham, bam, thank you, sir, or ma'am, and punchy once again, just for good measure. And that's definitely what this album is able to deliver. Now, whenever you take a listen to Deicide's discography, whenever you listen to the entirety of it, and maybe one day we will get along to a Deicide discography review, I don't know, don't ask for it right now, we're in the middle of one already. In case you didn't know, check out the Testament discography review videos as they pop up. But whenever you listen to Deicide's discography, you notice that there is definitely a heralding cry that came with their earlier work, and as you move on to the 90s, there's definitely some that sort of doesn't seem to have as much of a punch to it, either that or just doesn't seem quite as good. However, it still has some pretty decent material on there, and then as you get into the 2000s, and finally with 2011, there's definitely a bit of a reinvigoration process that has taken place, and there's definitely always been kind of a real desire and a real drive to kind of offend, not to mention really, really go anti-Christian with everything, and that's kind of the point of having a band like this, and that's something that the band themselves has stated. And that's definitely something that this album itself is certainly able to further. I mean, you just take a look at some of the song titles, and you can definitely tell that they are going for that. We have God Kill, we have Between the Flesh and the Void, Even the Gods Can Bleed, Trample the Cross, Kill the Light of Christ, and End the Wrath of God. So yeah, that's like 5 or 6 of the 11 songs, almost, or should I say more than half of them that have some sort of real anti-Christian value to it, either that or something that's extremely direct with it. So yeah, kind of crazy. And if you listen, or if you take a gander at the album cover whenever this beast comes out on the 26th, I believe is the date, man, you can really notice exactly how demented that this can be. And this is something that's relatively tame by comparison, because this one is just very direct. A very demented, demonic puppeteer type idea that's kind of a weird tribute, I guess, to Master of Puppets, though that's not the intention whatsoever. Now, musically speaking, Deicide is a band where you're not going to really need to speak too much about musical evolution and musical growth. As I stated with the introduction, this is certainly one that's going to take a lot more of a direct approach. The riffs are going to be a little bit faster. There's going to be a lot more in the sense of just, real insanity that goes on here, as opposed to really this being something that's going to be a little bit more rhythm and harmony driven, that really tries to build a song up. Instead, this is one that really is just attempting to really thrash its way through and really just give you the goriest and most anti-Christian death metal experience that you could really muster up from this band. And it's definitely one where the continuation of their work shows itself. And at this point in time, though, in their career, it almost feels like it's sounding a really, really tired trumpet. Either that or really beating a dead horse to the point where it's not only past death, it's already resurrected, and you beat it to death again, a la Walking Dead. Either that or any other zombie movie, and now it's trying to resurrect itself again, but just doesn't quite have the gumption quite yet. I like this album, don't get me wrong. I think this album has a real great potential, and I think that it flows very nicely. It has a great awareness to itself, and not to mention, musically speaking, the riffs are definitely very solid in quality. Not to mention the vocals, the drums, and the bass all mixed together beautifully. So this is certainly one that was handled beautifully from the production standpoint, as well as in other standpoints as well, which is no surprise considering, look who the producer is, Jason Sukoff. Jason, crotch duster, you and I, we had to talk about this. Well, I talked to myself about this in a previous video. Still, get on it, but great job producing this, man. Because this is definitely one where the production certainly amplifies everything to a certain degree of intensity that certainly perhaps was not as reflective on previous albums. However, this is certainly one that has that added emphasis and that added effect, that added punch. So because of that, the material itself, which may sound a little bit tired and dated by the whole concept and the base value of the lyricism, the imagery, and everything like that, this may seem to some to be a little bit, and getting a little bit kind of cut and dry, where you can just kind of cut and paste and superimpose whatever old value that they've already sung about 7 times inside of a song and have it be alright. Deicide's just one of those bands that's able to make those tired ideas and make those, you know, repeated ideas still sound intriguing to this very day. They have this way of still making it sound just as hateful and as cursed and just as deadly, really, as far as the venomous speech of the lyricism, not to mention the venomous noise of the music. Really, it has a venom all its own that still makes it very relevant and still makes it extremely interesting. It's the reason why these guys continue to have a great interest amongst the metal community, and why whenever these guys are prepping to release an album, people definitely and certainly take notice. It's more than just an album cover. It's more than just how far is Glenn going to take it this time. It's more so about the entirety of the experience. So because of that, it really amplifies the way in which this album is represented. Instead of being one that has that tired and dated feel to it, this instead feels pretty fresh. And I think the reason why is because they're able to thrash through this with a lot more savage brutality. They're able to really cut through all the bullshit. They really don't have to go to any sort of real fancy parlor tricks. They just go in there, they thrash a riff together, they give themselves one hell of a little mini solo or a little swath of a lick in there that's a little bit of a musical break. Glenn goes in there and basically acts like he's the antithesis of Jesus Christ, which at this point he might as well be. And there you go. A Deicide album completed, and one that still sounds like a pretty damn good Deicide album. I really dug this. This is definitely one that, while I wouldn't exactly call it better than To Hell With God, because I was really high up on that album. I really enjoyed that one a good bit. This is kind of a step below, but it's certainly not one where that step is about the size of a 6-foot cliff. This is instead a step that's maybe just about 6 to 8 inches. This is one that definitely takes a little bit of a different route to things, however still kind of uses the same formula in order to create a damn good death metal album. So this is certainly one I'm going to have to recommend to each and every one of you guys, and I'm going to have to give this one a solid score. Yeah, I'm not going to give this a rating. I'm not going to do that, because you know what? Whenever I really come down to it, numbers mean jack shit whenever I compose the top 25 list. Just know that I feel this is a favorable and recommendable album, and certainly one that you guys should check out whenever it is released next Tuesday, or if you've already checked it out, hi from the future. Tell us what your favorite song is off of this album here in the comments below, and also tell us your favorite Deicide album. We're all eager to know, and we're all eager to discuss. Talk to you guys later.